so hi, I'm Wyatt, and um, so it was really cool. I got to go on this trip. I'd always wanted to go, and when the opportunity came up, it was really, really cool that I got to go. Um, say a lot. The way I saw God there was while I was there, I got to do a lot of different ministries and stuff, and one really stood out to me. We went to a church that had been founded. This is 1906, and it has been run for till now, and it helps kids who've been through abused by their parents and things like that. So it was really cool to see kids and help them out. And what happened? It's not working. All right. It was really cool. It doesn't work. It was really cool to go and love on those kids and really get to hang out with them and help them with their homework and things like that. There was one kid in particular that kind of hopped on my back and kind of I don't know. He liked me, I guess. It was cool for that little while to be a light to that kid because he may not have had anybody at home, and nobody knows what that kid went home to. But it was really cool to get to really help that kid. And
Talk about, like you were telling me last night, we went there, we saw, because where was this church? What kind of area was this church?
Oh yeah, it was in a really, really bad part of town. There was lots of crime. I mean, there was cops like every street corner, and if you could imagine every street corner of Rockville, there was just SWAT teams on every little street corner. So you could imagine wondering what that kid would go home to, or what he could see, or what he would see at home, and it was just really sad because when it was time for us to leave, he walked out of the church and started skipping on home, and he kind of waved at me and then walked home, and it was just really bad part of town. There was no way you'd know what that kid's going home to. It kind of broke my heart, honestly. So it helped me to realize that I have it very good, and I already knew that, but there's just really the fact that I have a lot of privileges that some people don't have, and it was a very cool experience. It also taught me that if you do not incorporate the gospel into missions, then it doesn't count as missions. If you go help somebody and build a house for them, that doesn't count. You have to tell them gospel, and it won't count. Sorry, I'm really nervous, honestly. So working at the White House for 4 years back in when we lived in Lynchburg, I thought I knew what homelessness looked like with people. Looks like moving forward, but it was a really amazing experience for me, and just kind of humbling to get to see all these different. Sorry, I don't even know. I forgot what I was going to say. I didn't write that part down. That's okay. I'm sorry.
All right, so one of the things that he's talking about that we did together, and I'm kind of glad Hal and Lois and Lainey and Mel were with a different group, because they would still be making fun of me, because we went into this one area and it was literally about the width of this pulpit, the area we had to walk through, and there was like a shanty shack running this way and then a line of homeless people this way, and there were like 20 of us like in a single file line walking down here. And my thought was, if something goes down, we can't get out, so Wyatt, please stay very close. And
I was getting mad because it was like I kind of wanted to get near the translators and know what these homeless people were saying. But he was like, "Get away!" Like, alert! You're gonna get something. And I don't want you to. So back away. I was kind of like looking at him like, please, like this is annoying. I didn't know that that's what he's saying, but until afterward, he kind of pulled me over and was like, these people have diseases, and I don't want you to get them, but you can. It's great to love on them, but that's really. I don't know.
In my defense, it wasn't just me who said this. The translators pulled him aside and said the same thing too. So they were like, "No, take 2 steps back." So, anyway, do you have anything else that you wanted to add to all of this?
No, it was.
All right.
Just go for it.
All right. If you jump in anytime. So this trip began. That was Wyatt's first plane ride. This trip began. I don't remember when the first mission team meeting I sat in on, and I was just kind of going to check it out. And Donna just kind of looks at me. This is a paraphrase. This isn't exactly how it went down, but in essence, she just kind of looks at me. She's like, "Rob, you've been on trips before. Get us overseas in a year." Oh, okay. Sure. So worked through the IMB and worked with Tina and Tim setting all of this up, which we picked a good time to go because they had changed everything in their computer system, so it was all glitchy, and sometimes Lainey was going and Mel wasn't, and Hal and Lois both got kicked out like 5 times. The only person who never got kicked out of their system was me, so they really wanted me to go, and the rest of you guys were kind of sketchy. So it kind of began with this, and to be honest, my prayer was like, I don't know, God, what you would have in this for me, because this particular trip was a training sort of missions 101, and this is what it will look like. And here's how many different ministries we went on. I have no idea. It was hard to count. But here are all these different avenues of ministry. Here are all these different things. And from a pastoral standpoint, my prayer was, okay, God, where is our church? And what can we take away from this to incorporate here? How are we going to catch fire for missions, for fulfilling the Great Commission? How do we do that? And sometimes I heard one of my old pastors used to say the light that shines the furthest is the light that shines the brightest at home. And so it's not this either or. We don't do foreign missions. We don't do local missions. We do missions. And so kind of pushing people out, letting them step out, do something that they weren't normally going to do. And so how do we get that to kind of catch fire? And that was my prayer, is that it would like click. And Wednesday night, we had gone through and we were beat, and like Hal said, I had everybody like, hey, prepare a devotion. We're going to get together at like 6 in the morning. We're going to hang out. It was like, we didn't have time for that because it was kind of like we got shot when we got back at the hotel at night, and we just kind of fell and woke up at like 5, and it was like, oh, we're going. And so it was out the door. And so we didn't have time to do a lot of the team building stuff that I wanted to do. We didn't have time to do all these things. And by Wednesday, I was antsy, like, when are we going to have a moment? So we took some time. We set aside Wednesday night and just unloaded. Like, here's what God's been doing. And I saw like the answer. That was the answer to prayer when everybody around the table looked and they were like, hey, we can do this at home. And I was like, yes. And here's what I mean. And this really stuck out for me the most through the whole week. Watching Wyatt, watching Lainey and Mel, and we were broken up a lot, but just kind of watching. I pointed out every ministry that we were involved with, every single one was a single person that God gave a vision to. And they said, we're going to reach this group of people, and here's how we're going to do it. And it wasn't the pastor of the church putting out this new package. Here's our reach 1,000 in 100 day package, and it wasn't 9 steps to jump through to win your community for Christ. It was people who had a heart for Jesus, who had a heart for lost people, and here's how we're going to reach them. And they just stepped out and they grabbed their buddies and like, hey, We're going to go witness to homeless people tonight. Okay, I'm with you. It was individuals with a God-given vision who were fearless enough to step out in faith. And that's what struck me the most, because we can continue, like, here's our new ministry program, here's our new ministry, or we can preach from the pulpit all the time, hey, we've got to go do this thing. So that everybody will go, yeah. But these people were brave to step out in faith and do it, and that struck me. And that was one of the things I kept trying to reiterate. It's like, just pay attention to what's going on. This ESL class that we're teaching is one person. How can we connect this church to the people in our community? Well, we can teach English as a second language, which is huge there, because to even work on the Panama Canal, you have to be fluent in both English and Spanish. And that's the big paying job there. If you want to advance in the corporate world in Panama, you have to be bilingual. So it's huge, and that helps them get up, but also it's a way to integrate the gospel. The pastors had deep connections, like plants in these classes, so that they would connect themselves. I'm like, well, that's simple. And so my challenge that I kept was like, how does this look, what does it look like in Park County? So that was my kind of God moment, was Wednesday night when I saw the light switch kind of just click on in everybody's mind. And like Wyatt was saying, I don't know what precisely it looks like moving forward. My hope is that that little ember, it just kind of blows and catches fire, and somebody's going to say, you know what, God's given me a heart for this group of people, and I'm going to go do it. And it doesn't have to be a program. I'm going to go do it. And come with me. I'm going to reach these people. Because we still have that 11,212 number, just kind of, that's still lingering in the back of my head. Okay, well, you might not can reach 11,212 people, but you might have a way to get to 20. That's 20. But you do 20, you look around this room and everybody does 20. That adds up. And then they do 20, and they do 20. 10, 5, 2. That's multiplication. So anyway, that was Panama, and I'll ramble until you don't have any time, so, which I can. Do you have anything else to add? Good job, high five. You killed it. All right, guys, thank you. That was Pastor Gary.